Hey guys, in today's video I'm super excited to show you what may be the most improbable and unexpected finish to a game in the entire history of Scrabble. The game we're going to look at today was played between Dick Shunnery and Lexi Kahn. Two very apt names for Scrabble players, I might point out. It was a very strange game. As you guys can see, almost all of the tiles are on the right-hand side of the board. Throughout this matchup, both players adopted an extremely defensive style that, culminating with Lexi's last play of Via for just 8 points, led to the position at hand. It's currently Dick's turn, and he's sitting on a 35-point lead. The current score is 301 to 266 in Dick's favor. He's got A, B, E, 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 G, T. And it's worth mentioning that the unseen tiles from Dick's perspective are very interesting. As you guys can see, the remaining tiles in the game are both blanks, the Q and the Z, as well as A, E, F, U. Dick does not know of these tiles which are the 2 in the bag and which are the 7 on Lexi's rack. So Dick has a lot of uncertainty here he still needs to wrestle with in this position. However, Dick was doing very little wrestling on this turn. In fact, he spent less than a second, and within that fraction of a second, he laid down his bingo, playing all 7 of his tiles for a whopping score. And you guys might be thinking, how on earth is Dick bingoing on this board with any rack, let alone a rack as clunky as one with a B, a G, and 3 E's? Well, rest assured guys, Dick did bingo here. And I'll give you guys a second if you want to pause the video and try to come up with this amazing play that he found. The play that Dick made in this position was egg beater down the K column through a disconnected G and R for a whopping 130 points. Along with egg beater, Dick has made 7 simultaneous horizontal words in the form of overlaps and insertions. In order, he has formed Hadian through had and un, Targe through tar and an E, Sib from an SI, Gel through a G and L, Meow through a me and ow, Ostrich through OS and rich, and finally 8 from an at. An absolutely mind-blowing display of board vision and ingenuity here from Dick, and he gets rewarded with 130 points, bringing his lead to 431 to 266. And to make matters even better for Dick, he draws both blanks out of the bag. As you can see now, Lexi is sitting on a rack with the Q and the Z without either blank, and she knows that Dick now has both blanks and nothing else on his rack. So pretty much the perfect possible scenario for Dick. So the outcome of this game is of course decided at this point. Dick is obviously going to go out on his next turn. After all, he has 2 blanks. They can be any letter in the alphabet. And Lexi is down 165 points. So all she can do here is try to get rid of as many of these high-scoring tiles as she can and score as many points as she can to minimize her margin of defeat after Dick plays out with his 2 blanks on his next turn and gets bonus points for whatever Lexi might have left on her rack. You'd think that Lexi would be pretty despondent in a position like this, especially after as stunning a play as Egg Beater from her opponent. But she was actually surprisingly calm, and after thinking for just a little bit, she played just her F for 7 points, making the word fate to the 8 on the 14 row. And you might think that she would make a longer play, like equate in the same spot to at least get rid of her Q, but no, she just plays fate for 7 points. And Dick, on his next turn, sat for a while in thought. And you might be saying to yourself, why is Dick bothering to think here? I mean, all he has to do is literally just go out anywhere with his 2 blanks and he wins on the spot. He gets an extra 48 bonus points from Lexi's unplayed Q, Z, and 4 vowels. Like, this really should not be hard. Again, all Dick needs to do is just play these 2 blanks anywhere and the game is over. But where is Dick playing his 2 blanks? Dick burned the entire rest of his playing clock looking for a spot for his 2 blanks. And eventually, he just couldn't find one. And he ended up passing his turn here, guys. And you might be thinking, that's simply not possible. Dick has 2 blanks, and he can't play even one of them, let alone both of them. Well, you guys heard that right. Dick is double blank stuck in this position. Let me repeat that. Dick has 2 blanks. He does not have a single legal move. That is absolutely berserk. So Dick passes here, and now you're probably thinking, all right, well, big deal. Dick had to pass, but if Dick has 2 blanks and Lexi has actual tiles, then of course Lexi can't do anything either. Because any tile Lexi can play, Dick could have just played, making his blank that tile, right? Surely. So this game is going to 6 pass, and Dick is still going to win by like 180 points, right? Well, not so fast. Because in this position, Lexi does not pass, but extends Xanthin to Xanthin for 87 points, bringing her score to 360. And this doesn't help Dick, because there are no 2-letter words ending in a Z, so he can't put a blank before that Z. So Dick here still does not have a legal move. And he's still not all that alarmed, though, because remember, he's still up 70 points, and Lexi still has a Q. And what the heck is she going to do with that Q? Well, we're going to find out, because Dick passes, and Lexi does do something with that Q. She plays quaternion to the ternion on the board, hooking Fa for 72 points. And that brings her to 432. And Lexi has played out, so the game is over. She doesn't get any bonus points from Dick's unplayed tiles because they're both 0-point blanks, but she doesn't need any. She wins the game by 1, 432 to 431, in possibly the most stunning come-from-behind win you will ever see in a game of Scrabble. So what on earth happened here in this absolutely bonkers game? Let's try to process this. Let's go back a couple of turns to where Lexi played Fate for 7 points. In this position, we noted how Dick was unable to make a play despite having 2 blanks. He was double blank stuck. And it seemed paradoxical that Dick, with 2 blanks, could not make a play, but Lexi, who did not have a blank, could. Because after all, if Lexi could play a tile, Dick could just make his blank or blanks those same tile or tiles. However, the key here, guys, is that you can't play 1 or 2 tiles, but you can play 3. There are 3-letter extensions on this board, including the 2 that Lexi played for a mammoth number of points, Xanthin and quaternion. Both of those words require a minimum of 3 letters in front to extend. There are no 1 or 2-letter extensions for those words, or for any of the other words on the board. Another notable example is via on the top row. The shortest extension for via in the front is trivia, which needs 3 letters. There are no 4 or 5-letter words ending in via, and thus Dick cannot play there, and Dick cannot play anywhere. But because Lexi has the perfect set of letters to make 2 distinct 3-tile extensions that Dick is unable to use or block, she is actually able to play out and use all of her tiles, while Dick, sitting with 2 blanks, can't do a dang thing. And as we saw, these plays are high-scoring enough that Lexi ends up winning by 1 point. Just absolutely wild stuff, unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's also worth mentioning that Lexi had to play this in a very precise order to win. In the original position, she absolutely has to start with Fate, because anything else allows Dick to go out. If she plays Xanthin first, then Dick still can't use that Z, but he can just play out to the ATE on row 14 with many different things such as plate for 3 points using both of his blanks and winning the game on the spot. Quaternion first also doesn't work because Dick can go out. His best play would be Souk for 10 points to the Q in quaternion. So Lexi first must play Fate, simultaneously double blank sticking Dick, while setting herself up for quaternion for even more points by tripling the F on her next turn. And then, after Dick passes, she once again must get the order of her next 2 plays right. Even though she just set up a higher scoring quaternion, she has to wait. She can't do that first because once again, Dick will go out with Souk to the Q and win the game. First, she has to play Xanthin, leaving quaternion open for another turn because Dick once again has to pass with his 2 blanks after this play, and now and only now, Lexi goes out with quaternion to complete her epic comeback. But perhaps the most remarkable part of this entire sequence of events is that if we go back to the original position where Dick bingoed with the amazing play of Egg Beater, right here, it's going to sound crazy, but the only way Dick loses this game is if he draws precisely both blanks out of the bag. And I know that sounds incomprehensible, right? Blanks are supposed to be the best tiles in Scrabble. So how could drawing the blanks be a bad thing? And not just a bad thing, the only thing that results in a loss. It turns out that Dick loses when he draws both blanks, and the game will end in a tie if Dick draws any of blank A, blank E, or blank U. If Dick draws any other combination of tiles after Egg Beater, he would have held on to win. I know that probably doesn't make any sense, but let me show you an example. Let's say Dick draws blank E. If Dick draws blank E, then Lexi is going to have AAFQUZ blank with the blank instead of the E. And she's going to follow the same exact sequence she did in the actual game. Fate first, and this time Dick is stuck with a blank and an E, but he still has to pass. Then Zeaxanthin with a blank E for 84 points. Dick passes again, and then Lexi goes out with Quaternion. But this time, instead of a 432 to 431 win for Lexi, it's a 431 to 431 tie. Why? What's the difference? Well, there are two key things that change here, guys, with Lexi now having a blank instead of the E. Number one is that Lexi's play of Zeaxanthin now scores 3 fewer points, because the play is on a triple word score and the blank scores 0, whereas the E scores 1. So in this case, by playing Zeaxanthin with a blank E as opposed to a real E, she scores 84 instead of 87, 3 fewer points. So Lexi loses 3 there. However, she gains 2 back by virtue of Dick now having an E instead of a second blank when Lexi plays out. After Lexi plays out, she gets twice the value for Dick's unplayed tiles as a penalty, which is now 2 times 1 or 2 as opposed to 2 times 0 or 0. So Lexi loses 3 in terms of the raw score of her own plays, but gains 2 back in terms of the penalty she gets from Dick's unplayed tiles. So that is a net loss of 1 for Lexi. And thus, because it was a 1-point win for her in the variation during the game where Dick drew both blanks, it's now 1 worse for her than a 1-point win, which is of course a tie. So that is kind of how the math works here, guys, and why if Dick happens to draw E blank instead of blank blank, it actually works out half a game better for him, and they end up tying instead of Lexi winning by 1. I mentioned before that if Dick draws A blank or U blank instead of E blank, it'll also end in a tie. I'm not going to go through those in detail here, but it's basically the same thing. If Dick draws A blank, then Lexi's going to end up playing Zeaxanthin with a blank A instead of a blank E, and catching Dick with A blank, and the math is going to be the exact same as it is here. If Dick draws U blank, then Lexi is going to have to play Quaternion with a blank U and catch Dick with U blank on his rack. Again, the math ends up being the same because Quaternion, like Zeaxanthin, is on a triple word score, so playing it with a blank U as opposed to a real U will cost Lexi 3 points, but she'll get 2 of those back because Dick will have the real U on his rack. And the funny thing is, if Dick draws any other combination, he wins, and that includes if he draws any 2 1-point tiles that aren't the blank. So for instance, if Dick draws EU, he is going to end up winning this game by 1. Let me show you. If Dick draws EU, then Lexi is going to be saddled with both blanks. And yes, I say saddled because it's actually a bad thing, even a game-losing thing. Here, she's going to continue with Fate as she has in every other line, and Dick, of course, is going to be stuck, this time with his E and his U. Lexi is going to respond with Zeaxanthin for 84 with a blank E. Dick passes again, and finally Lexi goes out with Quaternion with a blank U for 69. She gets 4 from Dick's rack, but it's not enough. Dick wins by 1, 431 to 430. So the difference here, guys, from the original game where Dick got both blanks is that Lexi has gained 4 from Dick having EU on his final rack after Lexi plays out as opposed to 2 blanks, but she has lost 6 from her own scores because Zeaxanthin has a blank in it, that costs her 3, and Quaternion has a blank in it, that costs her another 3. So she gains 4 but loses 6, that's a net of -2, and what's 2 worse than a win by 1? That is a loss by 1, and that is why here, if Dick draws 2 actual 1-pointers and avoids the blanks, he wins by 1. Once again, if he draws 1 1-pointer and a blank, they tie, and if Dick draws both blanks as he did in the actual game, he loses. Absolutely crazy. It's worth mentioning quickly that Dick will win easily if he draws any of the F, Q, or Z after he bingos with Egg Beater, because let's say he draws the Q, Lexi is now going to get 30 less points when she plays Quaternion. She will get 20 as a bonus after she catches Dick with the unplayed Q, but 20 is of course less than 30. Basically, the recurring theme here, guys, is that whenever Lexi gets a blank instead of the real tile and has to play on the triple word score, it costs her threefold the value of that tile, but she only gets twofold the value of that tile for the unplayed tile penalty after she goes out and catches Dick with that tile on his rack. That's basically the recurring theme here, and it just gets magnified the more real points Dick draws out of the bag. And that is why Lexi only wins when Dick gets the 2 blanks. But draw 2 blanks he did, and he lost once again in the position I have up on the screen here, 431 to 432, in one of the most improbable and paradoxical losses you'll ever see. I say improbable because find another game where someone's even stuck with 1 blank, let alone 2 blanks, and paradoxical because the only thing that loses for Dick is drawing the 2 blanks. If he avoids that, he at least ties, and more often than not, he still wins. So paradoxical because normally the blanks are a good thing, but in this case, they are what spelled doom for Dick. So yeah, that is this game, guys. What an absolutely wild finish. Really hope you guys enjoyed that and got a kick out of it. Thank you so much for watching as always. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you all soon for the next video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.